So if you're new to ice fishing, just getting started, or it's been a while and you need a refresher, I've got a basic setup that I want you to check out that's going to catch a lot of fish. So stay tuned. All right, let's get into this bag. I went over to my local tackle shop and picked up some goodies. So I've got 4 things here. Back to the basics, what you're gonna need. And I already have some stuff. So this is a depth finder weight. I think it's lead or tungsten. You just clip it to your, clip it anywhere on your jig. You don't want to damage the jig, so maybe clip it on the hook so it doesn't chip up the paint. I've got an old wax worm. I'm just going to hook it on here. You hook it on here and you drop it down in your hole. And that's going to give you an idea about how deep your hole is to the bottom and then where to set your bobber stop. So you're wondering, bobber stop, how do you do that? So ideally you want to have your jig maybe a couple inches off the bottom. I know this seems like there's fish all over the lake. Why are they at the bottom? Yeah, fish usually sleep on the bottom. Some fish are constantly moving. They might rest on weeds or whatever, but for the most part, fish sleep on the bottom of the lake. So what I'm gonna do for this video is I'm gonna show you how to set up bobber stops. I've got a basic bobber here. It's got a little hole right here that you can pop your line onto. Basically all you do here is just put your line in like this, pull it tight, and then your bobber's on. This is ice fishing bobber. It's a really nice setup. It's easy to take down, move around. And then what I have here, these are the bobber stop lines. I'm just gonna look at the back here. Gives you a basic how to set them up. This is updated. I recommend these. These are really nice, especially when they're going down the hole. You can see them jig. They kind of sit flat, and then when you get a bite, they kind of tip up a little bit, and then they pull down. And then you have sinkers, some weights, and then your hook. So let's get started with this video on setting up a bobber stop. So I'm gonna clip my line here. Just got a basic, easy to grab scissor. I'm gonna put this somewhere so it doesn't end up on the floor. So I got my tackle box over here. All right, let's get into this. Just open this up. Oh, this is really nice. You could throw this out unless you want to keep it. My first year, what I did is I kind of cut this. And then I would just keep it in my tackle box so that I always had it in case I forgot. You can always use this video. So I'd recommend just keep holding on to these instructions. All right, I've got my reel here. And I want to show something about this, these eyelets here. You want, when you're looking at buying rods, for ice fishing, it's really important to get rods that have big opening or big holes. So you can kind of see how big this is. Why do you ask? Well, you might start getting some ice buildup on your line, and the last thing you want to do is be reeling in a monster fish, and then you're just fighting the ice through this eyelet here. You can always break it off, but I'm telling you, when you got a monster pike on the end of your line, you don't want to be worrying about ice buildup. So I'm just gonna pull off a little line here and then set this down on my black background here. So get out one of these and put that there so you can see it, and a bead. All right, I'm gonna get a little hook also. It's my little jig box here. So I'm gonna grab this VMC flutter spoon, I think it is. Really nice paint job on it. And when this thing goes down, it sits at an angle and it'll move around. Yeah, oh, this is it even says right here, VMC teardrop great option. So we'll put that there. Really like going out with a just different color patterns. This one here glows in the dark. Here's another teardrop. So yeah, they make them in different colors. This one has more of a little perch looking effect to it. But anyways, you just got to figure out what works for you. Something I've found that I really like, and I want to show you the difference here between these two. Do you see how where you put the fishing line through, the eyelet of that is different. This one kind of fits down sideways, and this one is vertical. I particularly like these ones that have where you just tie it on here and it sits level. You don't want your hook sitting down like this. You want your hook sitting like this, so it looks like a fish's tail. All right, I'll put this one back just because it's smaller, harder to see. But hopefully you'll be able to see this. All right, so going back to the instructions here, grab the end of my line. So either way, I don't think, the instructions say something specific. I'm just gonna put this on. See, I gotta look through the camera here. This will be interesting. All right, put that through. And then this is really neat how this works. So you got your line through there. All you do is you just kind of wiggle this bobber stop off. Just kind of, you don't want to undo it. Pull this off like this. All right, so you have bobber stop like that, and you just grab both ends of this line and slowly get it tight like that. And this is why I said it doesn't matter. The instructions say make sure to have the piece of plastic on the other side. Well, this is what's nice about this. Grab my scissors again, and I'm just gonna, make a little bit of a tag in there. You don't want a lot. You don't really need this to be super tight because you want to be able to adjust it as accordingly. So that piece of plastic, you see that? It just fell right off. All right. So this is the bobber stop, or at least that's what I call it. Now you put your bead on here. All right, get that on. And that just adds a little bit more you want the reason why you want the bead on the other side of the bobber stop is that you don't want it going through you don't want it going all the way up your line here. So when you're reeling in, see, you're reeling this in. Let's see if I can hold it. All right, you don't want that bead going up and getting in your reel. So I would recommend not even using the bead. Like I said before, you don't need it. All right. But if you want to, that's how it works. This would be good if maybe you had a small eyelet, but remember I said you don't want small eyelets when you're ice fishing. All right, so I'm gonna tie up a knot here, and I just overdo it when I tie knots. I think if you've got a good enough presentation, your tag end is not gonna make a world of difference. So yeah, get your fishing line in there. And this is how I tie it. I just go around a couple times. I keep a hole there, maybe 3 times, bring it through, tie it down. And I repeat that process twice. You don't really need to overdo it. Just kind of, it's basically a square knot. but this works really well for me. So I just twisted it twice there, just in the same direction. If not, and the good way of testing your knot is, see, I pulled it down a little bit. Just get that tight. And you want to watch your tag end. That means the end on the other side. Just pull this a little bit and you're good. You don't need to overdo it. That's going to hold. If you can put a little bit of tension on it and that tag end isn't moving, you're good. So then get your scissors again and just clip it. Clip that off. I usually like to leave a little bit so I can see if my knot is slipping. That's another thing. You don't want to get it too close because then it'll really slip. All right, so you got your bobber stop here. Now what you're going to do is you're going to hook this on and see, look, you don't need that bead. That bobber stop is going to sit right there, and when you got your hole and the fish is taking the bait, it's going to go down. So that's basically how this works, this setup. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your depth finder, you're going to hook it on when you get out to your hole. Oh, okay, this is a two-handed job here. So hook it onto the metal part. You don't want to put this. See, this is a beautiful paint job. You don't want to take these teeth and just clamp it right on there, because then you've got a little bit of a scratch, and then the next thing you know, you're chipping paint. So you want to try and keep these, and that's why I like to get a little. I bought this at Walmart. I don't know if it was $2 or $5, something like this. This is just a basic. You want to keep the jigs so they're really not rattling together. You want to spread them out. And even this, I don't have them completely separated. What I'll do is I'll just hook the end over the top, so that kind of splits them up. As you see, I need to go through and kind of clean this up. Has some other compartments here. I found these red baits here, little plastic. These work really well for me. This is another VMC product. You can tell I really enjoy fishing with VMC hooks. It's my favorite. Anything Rapala. I went to Finland once, and so I trust the Finns and everything fishing. So here's some other things I have. Okay, another thing you might want to consider is little, I think these are called barrel spinners. And it's a small little device that keeps your line from getting all twisted up. And so I'll show you how you'd use these. So what you do is you basically put these barrel swivels, you want to put them above your hook. You want to give yourself a little bit of a leader. Some people will use different lines. So you just put the barrel swivel on. See how I move the bobber stop above the barrel swivel on the line. So you just come on. I'm just going to quick tie this up. You want to do the same type of knot for the barrel swivel. And you're thinking, is this necessary? No, it's not necessary, but I think it's very helpful so you don't have your line all twisting up. And if you're changing your fishing line often, that's not a problem. I usually like to change my line sometimes, not every season, but these barrel swivels really take the twist out of your line. And that's important because when you get your line on the ice and next thing you know, it's all twisted up, you're going to be thinking, oh, I should have put a barrel swivel on there, because then you're missing out on fishing. You want to do all this. See, I'm doing this inside my house. You don't want to be tying, never want to be tying on the ice where you got your fingers exposed. You want to do this all at home. So here's my barrel swivel. I got the knots on there. And so when I'm jigging this, when I'm taking my line up and down, and I'm sitting here all day just jigging. That line, whatever you're using, is twisting up. You might not notice it at the time, but it's slowly turning. It's turning, it's turning, it's turning. And then as you can kind of see here up at the top, you get these twists. Don't mind the high chair and the bib, but you get the twist. And if you get a twist on the top of your line like this, you're game over. So I recommend using barrel swivels. It's very important. So, and while you're buying barrel swivels, go big. Don't get the small size, get a big size, because you don't know if you're going to catch a pike. You don't want to pull, you get hooked up on some monster, and then the next thing you know, you don't even have a hook. You don't even have a barrel swivel because you didn't tie a good line, or your barrel swivel failed on you, because they'll break. So spend some money, get a nice barrel swivel. You don't want to be able to see through it. That's why it's a barrel. If you can see through a barrel, it's not holding water. So you want to get a high quality barrel swivel. And what I would recommend, trimming these tags the same. You want to be able to see if you're losing your knot. It's important. All right, so that's a basic setup to get going. One last thing I want to talk about is live bait. I've been having questions about, hey, what are you using? I see you're catching some monster bluegills, and I want to know what you're using. So I've been getting questions, or one question about that. So here's Euro larvae. I'm not sure exactly how they produce these. I think they dye, they put them in dye. That's why they're red. I recommend going red. There's multiple packs too, and these last a long time. I'd recommend keeping them in a refrigerator, or keep them in your tackle box if it's not going to freeze. If they freeze, they're done. You don't want that. So I'm just going to get out one of these, and I'm going to show you these Euro larvae, because there's a way of doing this. You can see they're really moving, and that's what you want. You want a good presentation for that fish. When they're down there, they look at the Euro larvae and they're thinking, wow, that's really moving. I want to eat it. Okay, do you see the direction that Euro larvae is moving in? I'll see if I can zoom in here on this thing. Okay, so the head is at the front. See that little point area? I can't even imagine where these guys, how they survive or whatever. But anyways, you don't have to worry about that. You just buy them from the bait shop. So let's see if I can get a focus on here. It's the front of the Euro larvae. And this is, let's see if they'll focus. Oh, it's focusing on the front. Oh, I gotta maybe get it in front of the camera. That might help. All right, anyways, I'm not gonna take up too much time with this. I'd recommend just getting your hook. See if, do this on, oh, there it goes, nice. Just put it right there on the tip of the hook. And sometimes I just bring it back around, because what you want the fish to do is you want the fish to bite the tip of the hook. You don't want the fish biting way up here. All you need to do is get that fish to put its mouth on that tip of that hook, and then you can get that nice hook set. All right, so that's a basic setup. And you can see that Euro larvae is still moving around. Still moving. And this is a big hook. Let me see if I can go back to that smaller hook. I kind of like. So this pattern right here, when you're fishing, this is how it's going to look in the water. It's going to be up and down. And when you're jigging, this is going to twist. It's going to have that white side, then it's going to have the perch pattern. So it's going to go up and down, and that Euro larvae is going to sit right there. You can't take this, or you could take this hook and kind of bend it sideways, but that's not how this teardrop works. I guess they call it a teardrop because it looks like water or a teardrop. I recommend anything that has imitation eyes. This is like a raised pattern. See how that imitation eye is kind of raised off to the side? That's important. Fish can sense that realism. All right, so let's take this hook off, and I want to show you this other option that you have. Now this is from Clam. I'm not sure what this is called, but you can look it up and see how that eyelet is on the top. Here's what you need to do. Let's see if I can get this tied up here. Oh man, it's hard. Small hole, but that's okay. I missed. All right. Tie it up again. Going for my twist, but I small end here. Whoa, this is hard. All right, got my square knot on there. Got my tag in. I'm gonna pull it tight. All right. I recommend these type of hooks for this reason. You get, let me cut the tag end off here. I'm gonna take this bobber off. So I think this is the best presentation for fish, ice fishing. Let me throw a Euro larvae on here to illustrate this. Whoa, climbing out the edge. All right, so I'm gonna put this on. And I think this is more realistic for an ice fishing presentation. Now, it's just kind of there, it's dangling. When you're jigging it, it sits like this. You don't want the hook hanging down like this all the time. That's not a good presentation. You wanna get a good knot on there, and then you wanna just draw it up so it's sitting like that. So you're putting it right in the fish's face. They can't help it, they gotta bite. You don't want your hooks hanging down, you want your hooks hanging out to the side. All right, so that's enough about hooking up bobber stops, barrel swivels, clipping on these bobbers. I want to talk a little bit more and the depth finder. This is really important. The depth finder, you got to have one of these, otherwise you're fishing blind. I mean, it's best to have a flasher, but if you don't have a flasher, at least have a bobber stop and know how to use it. And remember, you want to take this the bobber stop when you're dropping into your hole. Hold on to this and then just keep pulling out line until your bobber stop or the depth finder gets to the bottom. And then once it's at the bottom, bring it back about 6 inches, and then that bobber is going to hold your hook 6 inches off the bottom, or however you adjust this bobber stop. That's how far off the bottom it's going to be. That's the key. That's why you need this piece of equipment. I would not recommend trying to do this on your own. I think they're only like, I've bought them at times for 25 cents, or they can be, you know, a couple bucks. But it's a good piece of equipment. Yeah, don't try and do this on your own. Just get that tube. It's really nice. The packaging, you just slide it right off. I've seen other options. But hey, do what you can to get your bobber stop set up. Definitely get some live bait. Get some plastics that you can put on. These work great. I'd also recommend this. This is a money maker for me. I've caught a lot of crappies with this setup here. This is a 1/16 ounce. Red is my favorite color for panfish. That's what I like to catch. Rip and wraps. If you're using a rip and wrap, you got to have a barrel swivel on. Otherwise, your line is going to get messed up real quick. I've got one hooked up here on this, and I wish I had a glass of water or something. But yeah, you can see how it sits. And see, I've got a barrel swivel already on this line. But when you pull this up, you can hear that noise, and it slides through the water real nice. See how it did get tangled up, but then you jiggle it a couple more times, it's off. This is an excellent product. And I would recommend when you're using a Rip and Wrap, just go slow. Slow up, let it sink down. Slow up, let it sink down. That's going to imitate kind of a distressed fish, and see how it's spinning here, but I've got the barrel swivel on, so that's good. And yeah, if you get rods, make sure you got this little place to hook up. All right, I'd always recommend taking a multi-tool out there. You just never know if you're gonna need to fix a reel or something, or needle nose pliers to get inside to get a hook out of a fish's mouth. Here's something I really got into a couple years ago. These Mackie products by Clam. They are excellent jellies. They imitate live bait, or specifically invertebrates that exist in the wild, and I've caught a lot of panfish with these. So they come in various colors, but yeah, pick some of these up if you can. They don't go bad. I usually keep these all year round in my refrigerator unless I'm using them, so I just keep them in a Ziploc bag. I find a place, a dead space in the refrigerator behind a drawer, and I hide them there. I've had these for 3 years now, and as long as you keep them, out of the heat, they're gonna last. So that's another thing I'd recommend. What else? Okay, more tools. Back to the basics. Now this comes in handy when you catch some pike. What it is, it's a spreader. You just unclip it, and then it puts tension on the pike's mouth to open the pike's mouth so you can get in there. Because pike, and I'd recommend getting some type of tool that you can reach deep into the pike's mouth and get that hook out so you can get a good release on those pike. You want to catch them, and if you're gonna eat them, that's one thing, but if you're letting them go, take the time, buy the equipment, and make sure you're releasing them so they can keep going. I think that's about it for this video. I want to thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.